Give me one hot second here, get everything up. Okay. All right. I think I'm ready to go. All right. Good morning. Hi. So welcome back, everyone. Yeah, Happy New Year to all of you. And we've reached a place. First of all, I'm really excited to see so many people, but I'm not excited to see that only 25 of you have your cameras on. This will be a thing. So if you have a camera to turn on, please turn it on because I'd like to see your beautiful faces. Not because I'm being mean. I want to see your faces. I want to see who it is that are listening. It actually helps me teach. It helps me teach you. Some of you write me messages and ask questions, and I don't even know what your faces look like. It's very hard to answer a question without knowing what the face is. So thank you, those of you that can. And we're going to be starting. So this was the infamous course that was taught back in 1996, where like 100 people showed up in the first day. And by the end, it was like 15 people left in the room. Right. Um, and I don't mean to scare you, and I don't mean to like, you know, make that like something to like just leave the class right now. But this is one of those classes that you have to use your brain a lot, and you kind of have to think about it, and it's really, really good to start by doing the homeworks. Like, don't wait until 3 years later to do your homework for ACI 13. Rather, if you can all get together and review what was talked about, it's going to be challenging, but let me tell you, it's incredibly rewarding to have your mind working through the ideas of this course. This was the first ACI course I took, by the way. I didn't start with any of the easy ones. I was like, after I'd gone to a couple Lam Rims, maybe one or two, I was like, maybe I should use the ACI courses. And so I did 13 first. I don't know why I chose 13 first. Um, and frankly, I understood nothing. I understood a little bit, but it's like having your tea, right? You put your tea bag in, right? And then, then the tea starts like, kind of infusing into the water, right? And sometimes it takes a long time for that, it takes a long time for it. But I want to have a big sales pitch here because if you learn to do what this course is asking you to do, it will help you in so many ways in your normal life and your like the normal things you do. And it will also help accelerate you on the path of preparation to be able to see emptiness directly. Because you'll be able to sort out what is true and what is not true. You'll be able to sort out what the things that your own mind does to trick you into thinking you understand emptiness. Okay. And that's the whole trick of the game here, is to get your mind, your whole being, not just your mind, but get your whole being wrapped around what is this thing called emptiness? What is this thing we've been talking about? What is this thing that we're like, oh, it's an absence of something that you thought was there on its own by itself, right? You thought that. And you're like, no, 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 Tim, I understand, right? You all understand, right? You're like, oh, no, I understand the pen. Duh, right? Janet's snurfs, I don't know, chuckling over there. I understand the pen, Tim. I understand it's coming from me. Yes, you guys get it. And how how much has been applied to every single perception you have? What do you think, Maria? Every single perception you have, every single thought you have. Hi, David. It's good to see you. Every single, emotion you have. Karina, it's good to see you. This is why I like pictures, because I can see faces. Um, and say hi. If you want Tim to say hi and it makes you feel good that Tim says hi to you, I don't know. But seriously, like, how do you apply these ideas to every single thing in your world? And that's the idea of this course, is to break down your own thinking, break down the ways in which your mind tricks you, even if you think you understand emptiness, right? And I'm telling you, it's a process, right? It takes a long time, and it's equally as much joyful as it can be painful too, because then when you do have moments where your emotions take over, they don't want to think that, oh, that's coming from me. That's that jerk out there. That's that person out there doing it. And this is going to bring us closer and closer to that. And there's going to be a whole section on mental images, which is actually the thing we want to get to open up this possibility of emptiness. Like, how do mental images work? Like, how do seeds open, and how do we relate to the images in our mind with respect to the outer world, which really brings into question what's outer and what's inner. So we'll get there. So I'd like all of you to just think about what you're here, right? And a lot of people don't even know. This is wonderful. You know, why are you here? Like, what is your motivation? Right? What is the motivation to come to a course like this that frankly you may not understand what's going on. And that's okay. But is your motivation, well, Tim, it's part of the 18 courses, and to get into Diamond Way, I have to take this course? Fine. If that's your motivation, good. Just get it done, get it over with. Just come to class, write the answers in the homework, close it up, send it off. Right? That's fine. Just do that. Okay. But there's also this space of curiosity. Like, why would this be a difficult course? Like, why does logic, the art of reasoning, like, why does it have to be a difficult course? Why can't it be a beautiful course? And I never really understood, to be honest, it was one of those things that I just kind of put on the shelf. I was like, I studied it and I was like, okay, just going to put you up there and kind of let it go. And I went to a lot of debate classes. I always went to the classes where we're teaching logic. I went to all of Adam's mixed nuts classes, which, if you want a really good review, how to go deeper in all these ideas, I suggest looking that up after the course. And I just struggled with it. And it wasn't until, and I was just never going to get it. And then Geshe Michael gave me a book to translate. And that book is in debate format. And I was like, you gotta be effing kidding me. Like I was like, I'm doing fine. Like my emptiness practice is fine. My meditation is fine. My life is getting somewhat better. Things are being, you know, I'm seeing improvements. I don't need this. And then Geshe Michael's like, well, here's a 50-year project, Tim. Everything in debate format. And you're just like, I was like, I can't get away from this. And I struggled like through the first like 10 pages, 12, 15 pages of that book to understand even what the heck was going on. And I still don't understand. However, it's there's something that it does to your mind, that it does create a kind of clarity in your thinking just by struggling, even if you didn't get it the first, second, third time. Like a clarity comes out. And you recognize the things that you believe are true. You start applying these techniques to them, and you're like, oh my God, I am a walking contradiction. Don't worry about everybody else, right? Right? Worry about yourself. Like, I'm the one who's the contradiction. Where I would argue with other people and be like, you know, what is, like, oh, you're being illogical, all this stuff. But I was like, no, I'm seeing their confusion because I have the seed to see that. I see a lack of clarity out there, a lack of clear reasoning because I have the seed for it. And then when you have to look at yourself, that's the part that's the hard part, right? That's the no fun part, because it's a lot easier to blame other people, you know, but they play together, right? It's a there's a togetherness of the mental image of someone being irrational or illogical, and then seeing it out in front of you. There's a deep, deep relationship there. And if we can establish what that relationship is, then you can get to your goals. All right. So I'm not going to do it. I did a 14-minute sort of sales pitch. I hope it was okay. The numbers keep going up. We're up to 107. Excellent. They didn't go down. All right. And so the first classes are going to be, they're a little bit easier, and then it just dives in. So one of the reasons I changed the schedule this year, instead of just one class a week, is I got a lot of feedback that it's too much time between classes. It takes too long to, like, your brain doesn't follow the threads of classes because a whole week has gone by. And honestly, it was hard for me to teach that way too. Because if I had to pull myself along for 10 weeks on a course, I would prepare, but then I would have to go back several times. So that's why we're doing it in 5 weeks. So don't worry, only 5 weeks of your life, struggle. And then you can finish the course, just write answers down. And many of you probably have learned at this point that you can find the answer keys online, right? And you can just copy them, memorize them, do some quizzes. It's not hard, right? Even if you don't understand. But it's only 5 weeks. And then the next class is Lojong, which is supposedly easier. It's actually not. But we'll worry about that later. Okay. So no, Octavian, the next course, I don't know. I think it starts in May, I think. I'm traveling February, March, and April, I think. All right, Chloe, there you go. Chloe's put on her I captain emojis. So there's a story, and I think it's a fun story. And I think it's also the last little sales pitch I'll give for the morning is how, like, one of the most famous stories, within our within this sort of the lineage we have is how did Gelsubje, the student of Tsongkhapa, how did he become Tsongkhapa's student? Like, what was the thing that brought him to Tsongkhapa in the first place? And so the story kind of goes like this. Gelsubje is a great student, and he knows it. How many of you think you're a great student and you know it? You're the best student there is. There's no other better student than you, right? I'm the one that goes to classes. I'm the one that, you know, I know more than all the other students, right? It's kind of a ridiculous point of view, but like, there's a reason we tell these stories. All right. I'm the most special one. So Gelsubje is an incredible debater. And he heard of this guy, this whatever guy named, I don't know, Lobsan Drakpa, right? This guy, Tsongkhapa. And he heard he was teaching, and a lot of people were coming to his classes. And he was a little bit jealous, you know. Well, let's call it, the way his jealousy showed up was through pride, because he said, I'm the best student. I'm the best debater in all the land, right? So I'm going to go and find this dude, this guy that everyone loves, because I'm actually jealous about his success, but but he's actually just more prideful and thinking he could debate Tsongkhapa and he could beat him because he's the best debater there is. I'm going to beat every other student there is. I'm going to get my ACI courses done first. Tim's going to notice that I'm doing so well and I'm working so hard. All the other students will look up to me and be, oh, what a great student. Notice I didn't name any names in that. Usually I name names when I have a point. There were no names. You got to look at your own pride. Okay. But it's a real feeling. It's a real thing. It happens in every group, and it happens, you know, there's some kind of, I kind of call it good pride in some ways. In some ways, it's good pride. In other ways, it's very nefarious. But, oh, the teacher looked at me during class. Oh, the teacher said hi to me, but didn't say hi to anybody else, right? How many people felt jealous that Tim didn't say hi to them, and they've been coming to 13 different classes, and he said hi to people who, maybe have never come before to this class, right? Was there a jealousy? Did you want to feel special? Like, this is the emotion. Imagine this is the affliction. And if it doesn't happen in a Dharma class, it happens elsewhere. Okay. So this is what Gelsubje has, right? And so he's, walking to find Tsongkhapa, and he heard that there's a great teaching happening. And he's like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to show Tsongkhapa. I'm going to show him that I'm better than him, because no one is better than me, right? So he's walking along, and he can't seem to find where this teaching is. And he then runs into sort of this shepherd, a young woman who's just like disheveled, hair all over the place, dirty, hanging out, just like, taking care of sheep in a mountain, right? runs into her, and he says, "Hey, do you know where this teaching is?" And she's like, "What are you talking about? I'm taking care of sheep." And he goes, "Have you ever heard of Big Nose?" Apparently, Tsongkhapa had a really big nose, right? And because he's such a prideful debater, he's already like insulting Jason Kappa, right? I want to go to the class given by Big Nose. And she's like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know any big noses." And she's like, "Well, who are you?" And he's like, "You don't know who I am?" And she goes, "Well, not really." And he says, "Well, look, I'm Gelsubje. I'm the best debater there is, you know." And she's like, "Oh, Gelsubje. Oh, I've heard about you. I heard you're famous here. We all know who you are." And she was like, "Well, look, I have a question for you. I've had a burning question, and I've been waiting to ask such a high, illustrious, glorious Lama like yourself this question." And now Gelsob J's like, "Well, I'm not that good, but you can ask your question." Fixes his hair a little bit, make sure it's like proper. And he's like, "Yeah, you can ask me a question. I should be able to answer this." And she says, "This is a really important question. I just don't know." She's like, "When that cow over there poops and the poop starts coming out of its butt, right? And it kind of comes out of its butt, right? That's the first part of the poop, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's the first part of the poop." Good. Translators, say all the words. So the poop's coming out of the cow's butt, right? That's the front part of the poop, right? Yes. So then, it's coming out, and then it falls down to the ground, right? And then then you have the whole poop on the ground. But now the top part of the poop is on the ground, and the bottom part of the poop is now the top part of the poop. And she's like, "I don't know, like which part of the poop is which." And Gelsub J's like, I can imagine his look. I've gotten questions like, not that exact question, but I've gotten questions like that. And he's like, "That's kind of profound." He's like, he's thinking like, which side, is this the top or is that the top? It was the top, but it's not the top anymore. And he's kind of getting like, he's like staring, like he's just looking at the ground, and he's like, "I don't know. Like, I don't know." So, and then he looks up and the shepherd's gone. And he's like, what? And he turns around, and then he sees the most beautiful, divine angel, maybe Vajrayini, looking at him and saying, "Oh, yes, I've heard about the I've heard about the illustrious, glorious Tsongkhapa, and his teaching is that way." And then she just disappears. And he's like, "Oh my God," right? And that's how the story starts, right? He shows up, he has pride. He basically, you know, gets schooled by a shepherd woman, right? He gets confused about what side of the poop is which side of the poop, right? And then and then she's like, "Ha ha ha, you have no idea who I am." And she takes off and then points him towards Tsongkhapa, and he eventually becomes Tsongkhapa's student. But there's a moral to that story, right? There's a really important aspect to that. And we're going to get into that in this class, is that you have no idea who anybody is, really, right? You have no idea. We have no idea what is going on in someone else's mind. Oh, yeah, Tim. Yes, I do. I see how that student is full of pride, how they push their way to the front of the class. How they think they're the premier number one student that the teacher pays attention to and adores. I see them being prideful. I see how they hurt other people. And I'm like, good. Then stop being prideful yourself and then learn how to plant seeds, because you have no idea what's going on in that person's mind. Yes, I do. He's like, well, no, actually, you don't know what's going on in that person's mind. You see certain actions, you perceive certain things, and they're validly correct for you. But you have no idea what's going on in that person's mind and heart. You have no idea what their motivation is. You don't even know who they are, right? Maybe maybe a Buddha will come visit you and ask you a ridiculous question about cow poop. And you're just like, oh, I'm such a good Buddhist. I know how to think about all of this. I'll answer your question, right? And then that Buddha pushes you up against the wall, and you're like, and you realize that you don't know anything. And then they might at some point show you who they really are, right? Which is also a question of seeds too. But you never know who somebody is. And that's the point of clear thinking. How many times have you gotten upset at someone and you saw something they were doing and you believed it? And then you had all these emotions, you had all of these thoughts. You even told all your friends what a jerk they are. Can't believe how they behaved. Anyone else done that? Many of you are like, the rest of you must be Buddhas. Um, Only to find out later that that person didn't even do that. Their motivation was completely different. I mean, this happens in partnerships all the time. Totally like you're living in the same house and you see the same things, and what's going on underneath of them are completely different. You're like, how many fights did you have, or you believe that they were acting in a certain way to hurt you, and you find out later they were just trying to understand you and not hurt you, but do the opposite. They loved you. You thought they hated you. What? To certain seeds, it looks like hate. To certain seeds, it looks like love. Which one is it? Right? But you have to be able to discern that. You have to be able to discern what you are doing. What are you doing in all of your perceptions? You see? And that's the practical value of this, right? Like, don't worry about cow poops, but maybe meditate on it. If you need a good meditation topic, just meditate on the top and the bottom of the cow poop. That'll help you. So, but you don't have any idea what people are actually doing. Even if they tell you, that's even the best part. No, I was trying to make you comfortable because of this, this, and this. And you're like, well, no, you were making it uncomfortable for me. Even when they do tell you they were trying to make it comfortable, you still don't know their motivation. You directly. Do you actually know anything? That's the question. What can you know and what can you not know? And then what does this have to do with wisdom? What does this have to do with emptiness? What does this have to do with love and compassion? Like, how are they all together? How does forcing yourself to think clearly an act of love? Because it's dry and it's logical. And you're like, what the fuck's going on in my head, right? Like, I don't understand this. Like, how does doing this, fighting that good fight, how is that an act of love? We'll get to it. So let's get started. Like we didn't get started. Here we are. It's ACI 13, the art of reasoning. And yes, ACI team, I know you didn't have an image until last night at 9:30 p.m. I know. We'll get Gina to make them later. Okay. Here's our primary image that we're going to use for the entire course. Burn this image into your head. I'll give you a clearer one. So let's see here. What are we going to talk about? The last thing I missed in my notes was that Geshubje said, by the way, Geshubje, for all of his pride before meeting Tsongkhapa, he then actually became one of Tsongkhapa's two primary students. And then he actually took over for Tsongkhapa after Tsongkhapa passed into, transitioned out of this life. And like he was given the honor to be the next like throne holder, for the lack of better words. Like he was anointed the next throne holder. How about this? Which one of Geshe Michael's close students thinks they're the best student and thinks they're going to take over when Geshe Michael transitions? Okay, it's real. It's a real thing, right? Who's going to be the next lineage holder, right? And that I see him doing it for lots of people. Like he's not doing it for one person, right? I see him putting knowledge and different types of knowledge into different people. So, but who's next, right? That's the big question. Who's next, right? Who gets to be the close disciple of the student? And what does close mean? Gelsomje said that the greatest thing that Tsongkhapa taught him was logic. It wasn't Vajrayana. It wasn't Diamond Way. It wasn't Lojong. It wasn't karma and emptiness. It was logic. And that was the greatest thing he taught him. And if someone could be the next person in line after one of the greatest philosophers and practitioners in our modern time, which was 600 years ago, maybe there's something important here. How does one become, if you really want to be the premier number one student next to whomever your teacher is? How do you think you do it? Do you come to ACI 13 and turn on your camera? Do you get there first? Do you get your homework done first? Do you run up to the teacher at the beginning of class first? Do you put your stuff down on the chair first so you get to be the closest? Oh, it's my karma that seat was empty, so I'm going to take it. Oh, really? That's what you think, right? I remember when I first showed up, I saw people doing this. And by the way, I still see people doing it, and I do it sometimes too. I'm not immune. I'm not immune to any of these emotions. And like literally, people would show. Many of you have heard this story before. I'm going to use this probably for the rest of my life. And you're going to be bored in 10 years of my stories. I showed up and people would come 30 minutes before a class, put their cushion down in the front of the room, then they'll put their water bottle and then their coat on top of their cushion to save their seat, right? So they can be close to the teacher. And I started watching this happening. It happened at one point. This was early Lam Rim. This was in Phoenix, which, by the way, we're going to be in Phoenix in October for a live event. And we're expecting 300 to 400 people. So if you ever wanted to come to the United States, we'll be having a course there on, it is going to be a Lam Rim, but it's also a preparation for a Diamond Way. So I will be talking about that later. Okay. So I was just, I was watching all of these people and I was just like, did you not just pay attention in class? Like the first step of the Lam Rim is always about finding your teacher, which is actually planting the seeds to create a teacher. And I'm like, that's not how you get close to a teacher. The reason you were able to put your meditation cushion down a half hour before the class started and then put a a water bottle and a jacket on top of it was because, and then if it worked, it was because you helped someone else get close to their teacher in the past. It has nothing to do with you being there a half hour early. Maybe the reason you were there a half hour early was because you had served a teacher and you helped other people get close. Right. And I remember one time I put my meditation cushion behind everybody's, but kind of in the middle, but back behind. So I was like, I'll just let everybody else put their cushion in front. I don't need to be up front. They want to be closer, great. They can be closer to the teacher. Right. And I walked away. I was actually doing some work in the back. I was doing registration work. And I came back for the class and my cushion was moved. It's like, what? Where's my cushion? I couldn't find my cushion. My cushion got moved under the tech table. Somebody so wanted to be close to the teacher that they moved my meditation cushion and so far away that like I couldn't even find it. And I was like, I was angry. I mean, I held it in pretty well, but I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? You didn't get close because you moved Tim's meditation cushion. And that's when I was like, all right, I'm getting a secret message here, which is not so secret. And I just was like, fine, I will prove to all of you idiots. I will prove to every single one of you idiots how to get close to a teacher. And I'll do it via seeds. And that's what I did. And I was like, I was watching my pride. And then I was watching how I was motivated. What was my motivation, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Guess where my teacher lives? 5-minute drive that way. Okay. Right there. The sun's starting to come up. I can see, right? That's how you get close, right? 14 years. Took me 14, 15 years. Okay. Don't worry about how long it takes you. Just keep planting the seed. And that's why you need clear thinking. You need clear thinking to try to suss out what is the right way to do things and what's the wrong way to do things. And then when I look back on it, Who were those people in the front of the room? Were they just prideful students? Were they people who were doing things the wrong way? Oh, and again, most of them aren't even around anymore. Is that what it was? Or did they teach me something incredible? They were teaching me. And then all of a sudden, your view of things changes. Were they jerks? Were they prideful students? They sure appeared that way. But were they actually teaching me something? They used my own negative emotion to turn it into a positive seed. I'll show you guys how to. I'll be the one. I'll be the one student. Get it? They use my own pride to get me to do something. Right? They got me to behave in a way that always brings people closer to my teacher. I'm always pushing people closer. If I don't get in a meeting, I don't care. I don't have to stand next to them. Push other people forward, help other people get there, invite other people to his events. I don't know, be the producer, the director of the organization that runs his events. I don't know. You see, that's how you get close to a teacher. Do things for other people. Help them get close, as Jules says in the chat. And that's why you need logic. That's why you need clear thinking. Because otherwise you'll continue to do those things blindly, and then you might lose the seeds. So what books are we going to study? Here's the amazing part of class. The books. We're going to be studying a commentary called Sema Namdro. Right? And Sema means valid perception. Right? The commentary on valid perception. Pramanavartika. Right? Deep, deep, deep book. We're actually we're translating a commentary to this in Ben's class. And it's incredibly deep. In fact, one of the things we learned about on Monday, just a couple of days ago, was a question that I've had for 15 years. And I asked tons of people what the answer was, and nobody knew. And finally, we got to a place where someone explained it to me. And we'll talk about it later. So you don't have to struggle for 15 years like I struggled. So the commentary on valid perception by the author Lopunchoki Drakpa. All right. Ch means Dharma, Drak means famous. So this is Master Lopun Dharma Kirti. Here's the Ch for Dharma. Drakpa means Kirti, someone who's famous in the Dharma, Dharma Kirti. All right. Let's see. Where did he live? I didn't write that down. I didn't memorize it yet. It's about 650 AD. Okay. This is the book that we're going to be focused upon in this entire class. Now, of course, the book is really difficult to understand. Duh. So we have a commentary. Okay. And the commentary has to do with a key. It's a key that unlocks the meaning of that commentary. All right. And it's a Riklam Choki Deumik. All right. The end of this Deumik means like a key, like the key that starts something. Trul in this context means like a machine, And Rick Lam is logic. All right. Lam Trul is like a machine. So this word is very similar to Truku, which is the Tibetan word for Nirmanakaya, for the emanation body. Just if anyone cares. It's not quite that spelling, it's slightly different. But it comes from it's the same base. So this is the starting key of the machine of logic. Okay. The key that starts all of it. Right. It's going to be giving us the essence that we need to take in to be able to understand what the heck's going on. And the author of this, I did not create a slide for it. His name is Purbu Chokjampa Soltrim Gyatso. All right. And his dates are 1825 to 1901. 81825 to 1901. And this guy's pretty cool. Why is this guy pretty cool? He had another title, which was Yunsen. Yunsen. Does anyone know what that title means for a Lama? Yunsen? Anyone know? Another person who has that title is Trijang Rinpoche. Not Tracy, that's a good idea. Not best disciple, no. But it is someone, it Yunsen means basically means a teacher, but it means like a particular tutor. The Yunsen is the tutor, the primary teacher to the Dalai Lama. And so this guy, maybe his book is good. He also was the teacher of the 13th Dalai Lama. All right. And then Trijang Rinpoche was one of the two teachers of the current Dalai Lama, who Trijang Rinpoche was Ken Rinpoche's teacher, and Ken Rinpoche was Geshe Michael's teacher, and Geshe Michael is my teacher. All right. So these are the commentaries we're going to be putting together. Okay. All right. So we kind of talked about it already, but I want to highlight it a little bit more. So there's two types of students. Okay, well, there's lots of different types, but in this case, we're putting together as two types of students. We're putting people into two categories. All right. Guess what? Which category do you belong to? Okay. Everyone's going to belong to the second category, but a lot of us also belong to the first category too. However, the fact that you're in this class, wow, we're 123 people. Good job, guys. For all of you people who did join late, I love it when the cameras are on. Tracy, you got pink glasses too? Nice. Nice. Mine are over there. I'll go put them on later. Thank you. So there's two types of students, right? And this is the reason we study logic. All right. So the first type of student is this type. All right. These are people who follow a teacher or follow a religion or follow whatever based on blind faith. Right. And this picture turned out really well. AI did a very good job. Right. These are all the people that are just following that teacher because they didn't think about it. Right. They didn't think about it. They just got a teaching and they're like, this is the teacher. I'm going to live like this for the rest of my life. Okay. And faith isn't bad. Okay. I'm painting it this way for a particular reason. Because in the beginning, there's something that attracted you to the teachings, right? Something brought you, something attracted you, something enticed you, something wooed you, something turned you on about it, right? And if you're coming to a class like this, 123 of you are, there's a reason why you're coming to class, right? There was some motivation you had. Maybe you didn't have a fully developed sense of logical, clear thinking in the beginning, right? Something happened, something cool probably happened to you that inspired this faith, and I think a lot of us have this happen. Like something happens and you're like, I'm going to do this, and everyone has their story. If I were to ask each one of you what your story is, like why? Like what's your why? What brought you here? Like think about it for a second. Seriously. Like what door opened? Maybe there was some magic for you. Maybe you saw a teacher and were like, whoa, that guy or that lady or that them, they got their shit together. They're like, I want that for my life. I want that. I want some of that. Give me some of that. Right. But you don't really, and then you have this kind of admiration for them. Maybe they did something, as I said before, like maybe they did something magical. Maybe you were just like, whoa. And that was something that attracted you in. Maybe you're like one of my good friends and he met a hot woman and she was like, you got to go to class. Can't hang out with me unless you go to class. He's like, well, that ain't so bad. Basically saying you can't touch me unless you go to class. Like, no kissing for you unless you go to this class. He went to the class and she never showed up again. See? He didn't even get a kiss, right? But something drew him there, right? And then of course he didn't stay. He's been around for 30 years, 35 years, right? But the question is, what brought you here, right? And what keeps you coming back? Like, why do you get on Zoom all the time? Like, what brings you? What's your why? What was your original why? And has that original why become something different over time? And it's okay to have come to a class because you thought someone was attractive. That's a good motivation. But it's not the motivation that'll keep you coming day in and day out, though, because people change and you change, right? What was attractive to you 10 years ago is not what's attractive to you now because you age. You don't look the same as you looked 10 years ago, but it got you in the door. Great. Right. But what sustains it is something else. So students of this is what as a motivation for clear thinking, why do people write things about why did they this actually comes from Maitreya. This is why it's so powerful. Like, why did Maitreya teach logic? Okay. And it's not taught to people of low capacity. The people of low capacity are people who show up because they have faith in something and they never lose it. They just they decide and that's what it is, and they never think about it. They become like these robots, right? And they never think about what they're doing. They don't think about the why. And Maitreya is very clear about this, and Buddha is very clear about this, is that don't believe something just because someone told you it's true. You cannot. It's not part of Buddhism, and it never was part of Buddhism. You have to be able to figure it out yourself. You have to put all of those ideas and test every single one of them. Does this make sense? Right? Does it make sense? And in the beginning, having some kind of faith that's just based in, an experience of like, oh, that's not a problem. And in fact, that's what brings people in, right? But that's the first kinds of faith. There's actually three kinds of faith, right? Depa. The admiration fuels you in the beginning, but it's not enough to keep the car going. You have to put it to the test. And if there's 126 people here and have been doing ACI courses for as long as you have been doing, you're testing it because you wouldn't have the karma doesn't last that long, you know. And so what happens is it's actually logic was actually put together for students of high capacity. And high capacity, not just intellectual capacity, but spiritual capacity. All right. That you follow the teachings because of your reasoning, because you've proved it to yourself. Right. You do it because you proved it, not because someone told you about it or because, oh, your Lama told you to do it. I don't care. Like, your Lama told you to do it. Great. Did you think about what your Lama told you to do? Because if you didn't think about it, then it's just faith, blind faith. Does that mean you know why your Lama told you something? Probably not. You know, one of the things that I've said to myself as well in the past, when I followed their instruction, the results were so much bigger than I possibly could ever have imagined. So if they're asking me to do something weird right now, maybe they understand the seed that I need that I'm not able to see myself. But I'm thinking about it through my own lived experience. Have they ever led me sideways? Have they ever led me into a corner? Or have they been leading me to liberation? And sometimes you do get put in a corner. Sometimes they do put you in the corner for a reason. To think about it. But at the end of the day, the teacher can't do anything for you. They don't do anything for you, ultimately, from their own side. You have to do it, right? And that's why you have to come to a course like this to understand the ways in which your thinking could be clarified, could become clearer. Because then once it becomes clear, then you know what the right thing to do is and what the not the right thing to do is. Then you're following because of your learned direct experience versus, oh, they're just so magical. And I've seen it before, I've heard it before. And Sandra has a good question. How can you tell if it's which one it is? It's probably a mix, you know. But that's why I started with the story of you were drawn in by something that inspired you. You admired it. There was something that drew you in, which, by the way, was your seeds going off anyhow. Okay. You may not have understood why, but that's the whole point. That's why there's three kinds of faith. The first kind of faith is, oh, I admire that person. That person seems to have their stuff together. They seem like they got it. Right. And then the second part of faith is you're like, well, they kind of got it. So maybe I'll listen to what they have to say and I'll try it. Right. Because they seem to got it together and they're teaching about it. So let me try it out. And then when something works for you, it moves into this beyond blind faith category. because it's you. In the sense as you've proved it to yourself. Now you have a type of conviction. You you admired it, you tried it out, and then you saw that it worked. Right? So that creates a sense of conviction. And then that conviction gets stronger and stronger over time. And then as you progress, the different kind of experiences that you have will create, this is my path. Maybe this isn't the path for you, by the way. Tartuk tekpachik. What does that mean? Tartuk tekpachik. Learn your Tibetan. Tartuk tekpachik. Make sure I spelled it right, because that would be really embarrassing if I'm asking you to like tell me what the Tibetan means and then misspell it. Nope, not the path is not for you. Oh, I spelled it right. Good job, Tim. Does it have that
All
too?
paths lead to the same goal.
Exactly. All paths go to the final goal. They're one. Chik, Tekpa as path, Tartuk, freedom. Final goal. They are all one, right? So you have to figure out which path is for you. Which one's yours? You know, maybe this is yours. Maybe this one is not yours. Maybe you're trying it out. Maybe you're still trying it out. Maybe you're not sure. That's good. Be unsure. Learn to be comfortable in the uncertainty. Because if you learn how to navigate the uncertainty with clear reasoning, then you can make things certain for yourself, right? There's no, you have to do it yourself. As I said, your teacher can't do it for you. All right, let's see what's next. And yes, because you're all here, you're all in this category, by the way. You are ones who are in this category of students of high capacity. You don't have dull capacity, right? Those who are dull won't ever progress in their path because they can't, right? But that's if you have a student who you can, I mean, you can cultivate a student into a student from dull to high capacity. Certainly. Of course you can, right? Because you teach them to plant seeds. And if someone has blind faith and they'll do what you say, well, there you go. Help them plant good seeds. No problem. Right? And watch someone go from a dull mind to a clear mind and a powerful mind and a powerful heart. It might take some years, but it's incredibly like it's possible. And that's part of your bodhicitta as well. Take care of all people, right? Take care of all of them, even the ones that appear dull. I wonder why you have the seeds to see people that way. Maybe you should think about that. Brigitte, nice to see you. Yay. All right. That's one reason. The second reason is we study clear thinking in order to keep the teachings in this world. What does that mean? What does it mean? Like, why do we study logic, clear thinking to keep the teachings in the world? Don't they exist in books? Right? Aren't they there? Like, and the thing is that just because there's people who read books and just because there's people that can say what's in those books and they exist doesn't mean that the teachings are in the world. Because it's in the form of realizations that the teachings stay in the world. And so you use your clear thinking to make sure that the things that are staying around are accurate and they're correct. It's not just enough to have it in a book. It's not enough just to say what's in the book. I know a lot of teachers who just read the answer key. Here's the answer key to the ACI course. I will read it to you. Great. Good job. Thanks for reading it to me. I don't understand what it means. And as a teacher, sometimes you don't understand what it means. And you have to just say, guys, I mean, I did it in ACI 12. There was one question. I was like, guys, I don't understand this. And I said, here's what the answer key says. And let's keep thinking about it. Right. That's okay. Admit when you don't understand something well. But if someone's just reading an answer key and has no understanding, then are the teachings safe? Because if you slightly mess up emptiness, you incredibly mess up emptiness. There's no like just little messing up emptiness. There's no little part of that. It's big, right? And you're blocking people from having realizations if you don't clearly know what's correct and what's not correct. So the thing that keeps the teachings, that keeps the understandings of emptiness in the world is in you, in your heart, in your mind. And so part of clear thinking is about, you only accept the ideas once they're logical to you, right? And so the Sakya Pandita Kunga Geltsen said something really cool. And I'm just going to put it up on the screen so you all can see it. All right. In translators, you can do a little bit of, there it is. I didn't put it in a slide because I wasn't going to teach it this way, but here it is. So suppose a person comes to understand the scriptural tradition of how to reason. Okay, so suppose someone comes along and they understand how to reason. And it's really beautiful word, this art of proving and disproving things, right? How to reason is about the art of proving or disproving, which I think is kind of a cool way of talking about it. It's an art form. Like, don't think of it as like logic. Think of it as an art form. And art takes a while to master. And a master like this is a person who keeps the teachings of the totally enlightened Buddha safe in the world. And it's important to say safe. Right? How do you keep it safe? This class, art. It's an art. Okay, it's an artwork. Become an artist. Everybody wants to be a creator, right? You don't want to be a performer, right? You want to be a creator. And a creator can perform, of course. But this idea of being able, the art of being able to suss out, the art of being able to figure out what's true and what's not true. That's what the point of this course is. What's true and what's not true. And that's a very, very big subject. And that's why it's a whole class. And it gets deeper, don't worry. But it's a whole class on how to become an artist of being able to figure out what's actually happening in the world. That's reason number 2. Reason number 3, why we do this course. And we studied this in ACI 4, and it's worthwhile studying it again in the beginning because not everybody heard it. All right. Here's the Tibetan, and I will read it to you. Nam nadang drawed gansaki sugi sung gi gansaki sumisungte nampar tare. Only I'm not talking about myself. I'm just translating right now. Okay. only I or somebody like me can judge another person. All right. Oh, I can't highlight this text. Sorry. This first line is myself, na, nam, or natangdrawe, someone like myself, kansak, kansaki, others, susungwa, susungi, can judge somebody else. All right. Meaning if you're a Buddha, only a Buddha can judge other people. No other person, kansaki, should judge another, kansaki, sumisungte, or they will fail. Nampar girtare. Okay. What does this mean? Okay. And this is, I think, we'll get through class. We'll get through everything. That only a Buddha is someone who's able to judge other people, truly know what's going on in their mind. So, what happens? For example, the story I told earlier about all those students who were pushing their way to the front of the class. I'm going to be the number one student. The teacher's going to see me as the number one person, right? They're going to see me and I'm going to be the most famous, right? And all of those people doing it. And I was just like, and I was judging them, surely. I was like, you guys are a bunch of idiots. This is Tim's brain, right? I never told any of them they were idiots. I never did any of that, but my brain is doing it, which is functionally the same thing. In my mind, I was like, these idiots have no idea how to create closeness, right? That's me judging them, right? Do I know what they're doing? Absolutely not. Can I read their mind? I cannot read minds. I have no idea what's going on inside there. Now, the action that I see is something that I need to take care of, right? I'm seeing people behaving in a certain way that I don't like. I'm like, you guys have been here for 15 years and you're still like pushing each other out of the way. Come on, bunch of idiots, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't like that. That doesn't seem right to me. So I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to use what the teacher just said 10 minutes ago. I'm going to use some seeds. I'm going to try to get closer using seeds, right? And I did. And as I said, I pointed out, I can see, the sun's coming up even more. Like, the house is right there. You see. Now, do I still feel jealousy? Yes. Do I still get upset when people get meetings with the teacher and I don't get them? Yes. Do I still have all those things? Yes. Right. But the point is I don't know who those people were. Maybe those people were showing me something so I could get closer. Maybe they actually maybe they weren't even like being rude in to themselves. I don't know. Maybe they weren't in their mind. They were just like, he, I'm going to teach all those people what not to do. I'm going to teach that Tim that if he really wants to get close to a teacher, I'm going to teach him what to do by doing the opposite. Right. So what's going on in there? I don't know which one is correct, the asshole version or the enlightened version. Good luck, translators. Which one? Which one's correct? Is it a pen or a chew toy? Which one is it? Which one is it? Is it a pen or a chew toy? Tell me. So, okay, there you go. And there you're participating, right? Right. It's exactly. David's like, for whom, right? right? It could be both or it could be neither. It depends who's looking. Same with those students. Were they enlightened students or the asshole students? I don't know. But if I judge them that way, then you're planting very terrible seeds. Now, does that mean when you see something that is maybe a little suspect that you don't do something about it? You got to be careful what you do, but you still have to live in the world and you still see a world where things may not be right. You know, a bodhisattva does have to help people, right? If you see somebody hurting somebody else, if it's reasonable, you should help them. You should stop the person who's hurting the other person. But don't, for any matter, any part of it, don't judge them as a person. You know, and then even the action that you see that you don't like, and a lot of you need to think about this, even the action that you see that you don't like could also be not what's happening. Like we said about the person who was, they told you they were trying to help you and you thought they were trying to hurt you, right? If you saw it as help, how would the action look differently? What were they doing? So you have to be even careful with that. It doesn't mean roll over like a dog, you know, and but it doesn't mean just run out and then start telling everybody what bad things you're seeing either. Right? There's somewhere in the middle there, and you got to find it for yourself. And it's also situation dependent too. Like different things have different levels of necessity. And that's also the aspect of keeping your vows in a certain way. Like you will come across situations where your vows will look like they're in contradiction with each other. So how do you choose the best one to do? And that's another art form that you will learn in this class. Okay. Just in case, here's my picture for this so you can see it. Don't judge, right? Don't really judge. And don't judge the things that you're perceiving either, even in the outer world. If you understood where those things were coming from, how would you treat them? Right? If you truly understood where the things in the world that you didn't like, where they were coming from, how would you behave knowing where they were coming from? How would you behave towards them? If they're your projections anyway, how would you take care of them? How would you treat them? That's an interesting question. If you truly understood where things were coming from, how would you treat your projections? How would you care for them? This is why I like seeing people's faces, because I can see them being like, oh, right? How would you care for them? Right? How would you intervene? Or would you intervene? You know, these are all interesting questions. You know, I had a thing happen a couple of weeks ago where somebody clearly wanted to be the leader of something. And I was having a side conversation where I got some insight into what Geshe Michael wanted from a particular situation. And I caught myself. I was writing an email to everybody to be like, hey, I had this private conversation with Geshe Michael. This is what he said. Look how cool I am. Right. And then I was like, but wait, I'm not the one who wants to be the leader of this program. Somebody else said they would take responsibility for it. And I'm like, if I want to be a leader myself, I have to give leadership to other people. Right. So instead of writing an email to everybody to be like, oh, look how great I am, the teacher told me this. I was just like, I talked to the person. I said, hey, I had this conversation. I don't know if it's relevant, or I don't know what conversations you've had. And it turned out that this person had a different conversation with Geshe Michael, gave different information. We got two different solutions to the problem. Right. And I said, okay, that's fine. And then I let them go on their way because they wanted to be the leader of that program. Right. I did what I was supposed to do. I gave them the information that they needed, but then they got some other, different guidance. Okay. You do what you do, and I'm allowing you to have this leadership. Great. Wonderful. But in that way, it's like, this is where clear thinking comes in, right? Because I saw how much it's like, well, I had that conversation and he told me something different. Oh, really? Which version of Geshe Michael did you see? Pen or chew toy, right? Two different devices for the same problem. What is the teacher trying to teach now? Right? Is the version that he told me the correct version, or the version he told the other person the correct version? Well, for whom? You know, the other person got advices that makes them more of a leader. They're in charge. I'm in charge of this. Right. And me underneath, I could be like, well, it's not exactly what he said, and then I could fight them. Or I could be like, well, maybe there's a reason why they need that teaching. Maybe they need it that way. Maybe they need to feel better about being a leader, and they need to be empowered or something like that. And maybe Geshe Michael's teaching me to give that power to other people. Get it? Right? Maybe I shouldn't stand out in front. Maybe I should let other people stand out in front. Okay. Maybe that's my teaching today. So that's why you have to get very subtle about things. Don't ever say, well, the Lama told me so. I'm just gonna put the pen in my face and be like, oh, the Lama told you so. Right? Great. Well, the Lama told me something different. Which one is it? Then you gotta figure it out. What's the right thing? All right. Last thing. So we're gonna talk about debate pretty quickly. So the whole point of debate, Buddhist debate, there's one motivation and only one motivation for it. Everything else is going to be planting bad seeds. Okay. Is that the motivation is really to explore reality. And everyone you're debating is really just a fellow explorer, kind of like a friend. Right. Even if you're getting heated and you're trying to figure it out and you're not winning, there is no winning in debate. It's actually better to lose. You learn more. Get used to losing. Your teacher will eventually teach that to you if they have not yet, you know, because the idea of debate is not about being right, it's about uncovering truth. And it's about uncovering truth in a way that so we can see emptiness directly faster. You see, so it's an act of kindness. So Buddhist logic is actually an act of kindness, exactly what Geshubje said in the beginning. He was like, the greatest thing Jason Kappa taught me was logic. And to get to the truth of something, to uncover the truth, right? And to have that motivation, then you're just hanging out with friends, right? And you don't take it personally, or you don't take yourself personally. Don't get so serious. I don't understand, Tim. Good. Go get a snack and go to bed. We'll try again tomorrow, right? Don't take yourself so seriously. Actually, the only way to debate is to enjoy it. Because if you're not enjoying it, then your prana's all choked up, right? It's about uncovering the truth. I have a picture here too, which I thought just AI did a pretty good job here. Here's 5 people that are debating, but there's 6. I don't know what the other person's doing sitting down in the water. And then one person standing on water too. That's what I like about it. They're trying to uncover what the truth is, how to get out of this suffering, how to get out of this. How do we get out? Well, we have to understand how it all fits together. Like, how's the world being created for you, right? And so last thing, so 2 last things. What I'm saying here is just enjoy it. All right. Just enjoy the fact that you don't understand anything. Okay. And the things that you thought you knew, you actually don't know. And humble yourself to it. And then you'll know, like diamond cutter style, right? You know that you don't know, and humble yourself to not knowing. And that's why so, help each other. It's really about helping other people. The point of debate is to help someone else uncover the truth for themselves. And if you're trying to go in to be right, you're going to fail at debate. So last thing is, in the debate structure, you have to give reasons for things. You have to give a reason, right? Obviously, because if it's called a tak in Tibetan, RG RTAGS, for those of you who are studying Tibetan. So it's RTAGS, tak. A reason. What's the definition of a reason? And then we'll finish for today. You need to understand what a reason is to be able to use it in a debate. What is a reason? Exactly, Julia. Anything that you decide is a reason. The class is over. Consider the class. The class is over because the sun's rising. Or, oh, consider the class. The class is over because the sky is green. Does the sky is green have anything to do with the reason the class is over? No. Right? So it's still a reason, and validly so a reason, but it's not a correct reason. So what we're going to learn what to do is how to put forth correct reasons and how to understand when a reason is not correct. so that you can come to the correct reason. Cool. Thanks for joining class 1. 130 of you, please keep coming back. That was the easy class. I made it easy on purpose so you would at least come back to class 2. Very happy to see everybody here. And I think the next class is Monday morning, January 6th. So we're supposed to have a translation class in a half an hour. And unfortunately, something else has come up that I'm not able to start the translation class this week. So we will start the translation class on Monday, January 6th. So I apologize that something happened that I'm not able to come to class. So that's all for me today. Sorry for last minute change, but I messed something up. So everyone is free to go. So thanks everyone for joining. Class 1, we only have 9 more left. Good luck. And before we leave, please turn on your camera and then say goodbye to everybody else. And we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Stay with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, team.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, teacher team.
Gracias, team.
Please stay healthy. Please stay and keep teaching.
Thank you so much.
Gracias, maestro Tim. Por favor, quédate y sigue enseñando.
Ciao, everybody.
Thank you, teacher team.
Oh, thank you. All right, everybody. Have a great day or evening. See you on Monday. Bye.